ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धाविश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तस्तमीश्वरम्। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वमरोगता अजाड्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमत्स्मरणात् भवेत्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम्। अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय, 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वती पतये, हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम, हरि ओम, हरि ओम। So Bhagwan reveals the true nature of our self to Arjuna to free him from confusion and sorrow. So this is the solution for this problem of samsara, the problem of suffering, the problem of taking birth and dying again and again. The solution, ultimate solution, is to gain self-knowledge. So Bhagavan reveals the nature of that self. He tells Arjuna that you don't have to grieve for the self, either your own self or all these people who have assembled here, because the self is eternal. It never perishes. It never dies. And the world which we see, along with our bodies, constantly changes. As long as we are unaware of the supreme nature of our self, we will continue to observe and experience the world as different from us, and this world constantly changes. But once we come to recognize our real nature, the world will dissolve into ourself. We will come to know that everything and everyone is my own self. So the Supreme Self doesn't get destroyed. It doesn't undergo any modification. There is no vikar in the Supreme Self. Therefore, there is no action happening in the self. Therefore, one who realizes the self, he or she drops the sense of doership and enjoyership. There is no sense of doership and enjoyership. Kartrutva and bhoktrutva is not there in a self-realized master. So Veda avinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katham sa purusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. The self remains unchanged even when the body changes and even when the body gets dropped. When one life ends and another begins. When the body drops, the self doesn't undergo any change. Just as we change our dress, the body gets changed. When we change our dress, we don't change, we don't go into non-existence. Similarly, when the bodies change, the self doesn't perish. The self cannot be destroyed by any weapon, by fire, by water, by air, by any of these 5 great elements. See, these 5 great elements are very, very powerful, and they can also subdue each other. They are very powerful. In fact, the whole world is made up of these 5 great elements. Mainly, the external physical world is made up of the 5 great elements, and they are so powerful that nothing can stand in front of them. But the self remains untouched by these 5 elements. They cannot cut it. The greatest and the most deadliest of weapons cannot cut the Atma. The fire cannot burn it. The water cannot drown it. The air cannot dry it. Atma remains untouched by these elements. Therefore, it is achedyaha, it is uncuttable. Adayyaha, it cannot be burnt. It cannot be burnt at all. Akledyaha, it cannot be drowned or it cannot be made wet. Atma cannot be made wet. Ashoshya, it cannot be dried up. That is the very nature of our own self. It is not touched by the 5 elements. Therefore, Atma is Nitya. Nitya means eternal. It is always there. Time doesn't have effect on Atma. See, though these 5 great elements are so powerful, they also undergo modification and change in time. Time is very powerful. In time we see things changing. Even the mightiest thing keep on changing. Once upon a time our earth was also like a molten rock, but through time it cooled down and so many life forms came on earth. And it is said that all the continents were together once upon a time, but with time they got separated. So where we see a mountain now, once upon a time there was some river or a ocean or a lake there. So things, the topography and everything changes in this world, but Atma remains untouched by time. It remains untouched by these 5 elements or any other forces of this world. It remains untouched by any beings. Even Ishvara cannot destroy his own self. Therefore, the self is Nityaha. Nitya means eternal, always there. Since it is Nityaha, therefore it is all pervading also. Because that which is limited cannot be Nitya, cannot be eternal. So Atma is not limited in space. It is all pervading. Sarvagataha. Therefore even space cannot touch it because it is everywhere. It is there as the very substratum of even space. Space is so subtle. Space is so mysterious. Science is trying to understand the secret of space for such a long time. Space is very subtle. Everything happens to be happening. Everything seems to be happening in space. But that space itself is very mysterious. Space is also an object. Space is also one of the 5 elements. Space is not absence. Space is not vacuum. Space is a substance which is very subtle. Atma pervades space also. It is all pervading, sarvagataha. It is there, present in everything and in everyone and in all times. Since it is all pervading, Atma is Tanuhu. Tanu means like a stump of a tree, like unmoving. Stira. Stanu iva stira. Stira means it doesn't move. It doesn't move means it doesn't move from its nature. It remains unmoved. Or it doesn't move from one place to another because it is all pervading. Where can it go? Many times people misunderstand the nature of Atma and they talk about it as though going from one place to another. We say, वो आत्मा चली गई है, आत्मा आ गई है, and all sorts of things we talk about that Atma, but the real supreme, that self, that Param Atma doesn't go anywhere, doesn't come anywhere, doesn't move, because it is everywhere. Where can it go? Even the furthest thing which you can imagine, Atma is already there. So therefore it is Stanuhu, remains stira, unmoving. Therefore it is Achalaha. Achala also means unmoving. It doesn't move. It doesn't... See, sometimes a thing can be there at one place but may just move like a tree. Tree remains at one place but it keeps on swinging. This Atma neither moves from one place nor swings. It remains same, it remains firm. There is no change in that Atma. Therefore, it is Sanatanaha, it is eternal. See, our dharma is also called Sanatanaha because it is the dharma of the self. The nature of the self is revealed. And we live our life in tune with the nature of the self. Why we should be good? Because Atma is good. Why we should be kind to everyone? Because Atma is kind to everyone. Why we should be peaceful? Because Atma is peaceful. Why we should be non-violent? Because Atma is non-violent. So all the great values are also expressions of the Supreme Self. So it is Sanatanaha. See, many of this nature was revealed in the previous that verse also, Na jayate mriyate va kadachid. In that verse, Bhagavan had revealed that the Atma doesn't undergo any change. It is nirvikari. And again in this verse also similar nature, similar thing is pointed out. So sometimes we wonder that why the scripture keep repeating the same thing. Our Shankaracharya ji, in his commentary also, he takes up this point. He says, Na etesham shlokanam paunarukyam chodaniyam यद एकेन एव श्लोकेन आत्मनो नित्यत्वम अविक्रियत्वम च उक्तम न जायते म्रियते वा इत्यादिना तत्र यद एव आत्मविषयं किंचित उच्यते तद एतस्मात् श्लोकार्थात् न अतिरिच्यते किंचित शब्दतः पुनरुक्तम किंचित अर्थतः इति. That what was said before is said here also, but in a different, the scriptures generally indicate the same thing in different words or with different meaning. Because Bhagavan says that Atma is nirbodhatvat, it is very difficult to comprehend. See, all of us, we have the habit of knowing something different from us. Through our senses, through our mind, with the help of our buddhi, all that we know is something which is different from ourselves. We, the knower, I, the knower, always remains different from whatever I know. It becomes easier for me to know something other than me. It seems to be easier. I see, hear, taste, touch, it becomes easier for me to know. Even the senses, actually, they are so subtle and so interesting. They can know everything except themselves, except itself. For example, the tongue can taste all things, but it cannot taste itself. Eyes can see everything, but eyes cannot see itself. Similarly, the self also can see everything, know everything, but it becomes difficult to know itself. So we have this habit of knowing something other than us, but self is the subject, the knower itself. So Bhagavan says, Durbodhatvat. The Atma is Durbodhatva. Durbodh means very difficult to comprehend. Durbodhatvat Atmavastunah Punah Punah Prasangam Apadya Shabdantarena Tad Eva Vastu Nirupayati Bhagavan Vasudevah. Therefore, it says, Shankaracharya ji says, that since Atma is very difficult to comprehend, Bhagavan Vasudev, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, indicate that Atma by bringing different context and through different words with different meaning, Bhagavan tries to indicate that Atma. Why? Kathantu nama samsarinam avyaktam tattvam buddhi gocharatam apannam sat samsara nivruttaye syaditi. Because Bhagavan wants that by whatever means the samsari should know this Atma and become free of this samsara. See, Bhagavan wants all of us to be free of this samsara. In order to make us free from this samsara, Bhagavan creates different opportunities for us, gives us different life forms so that we can exhaust all our desires and finally come to realize our own self. So somehow we can know the self and become free of this samsara. Therefore Bhagavan indicates the self through various means, various words. So here in the next verse, Bhagavan again summarizes the nature of that self. He says, verse number 25, chapter 2, Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitum arhasi. Bhagavan says this Atma is avyaktaha. Avyakta means it is not an object of our senses. Sarva karana avishayatvat. We have this our senses through which we know this objective world. But with the same senses, we will not be able to see that Atma. It is not an object of the senses. We can't see that Atma. All that we can see is Agni Tattva. We can't hear the Atma. All that we can hear is Akash Tattva. We can't touch the Atma. All that we can touch is Vayu. We can't smell the Atma. We can smell the earth. We can't taste the Atma. We can taste the water. But Atma cannot be seen, or it's not an object of our senses. So there is no color, form, taste, touch in Atma. Therefore it is called avyakta, unmanifest. Na vejyati iti avyaktaha ayam Atma. Ata evaha, therefore, since it is avyakta, it is beyond the comprehension of the senses. There are no colors, there are no form, there is no height, weight, density, there is no chemical or physical properties in that Atma. Therefore, it is achintyaha. It is beyond our chintan. We can't think about it. See, in order to think also we need some data. We need some qualities so that we can think about it. Because we think in terms of thoughts, in terms of words, in terms of meanings. For our thinking, we use our words. Those words have meaning. We use sentences. We use images. We use emotions. We use different concepts. But Atma is beyond all this. It doesn't have any of the colors or form. It doesn't fall under any concept. So Atma is achintya. The buddhi or the mind cannot grasp it through its usual way, usual means. The mind can grasp so many things, the buddhi can grasp so many things, but through its method of grasping, the buddhi and mind cannot grasp the Atma. For that we need the stillness of our mind and intellect. For that we need the purity of our mind and intellect. Just by making the mind and intellect pure and still, we will be able to realize the self as we are. As Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, be still and know that you are God. Don't use any instrument. Keep your senses still. Keep your mind and intellect still. And the Atma will reveal itself as it is. We have to stop all the obstacles. We have to stop all the disturbances. And the Atma will reveal itself. Like silence. If I want to comprehend silence, I should stop all noise, making noise. Then what remains is silence. Similarly, if I want to comprehend self, I have to drop all other comprehensions, all other ideas, all other concepts, all other images and imaginations, all other philosophies. And when everything gets dropped, what remains is Atma. So it is achintyaha, unthinkable, cannot be thought of. I am avikaryaha. Again, Atma is avikaryaha. There is no vikar. No vikar happens in Atma. Bhagavan gives example of the milk getting converted into curd. Yatakshiram dadhyatanjanadina vikari na tatha ayam Atma. Just like in the milk, we put little curd and then we keep it and the whole milk gets converted into curd. Similarly, Atma getting converted into something doesn't happen. The Atma was Atma from the beginningless time. It is now, it will be in future without undergoing any change, any modification. Ayam uchyate, avikaryo yam uchyate. So since Atma is of this nature, Bhagavan tells Arjuna, don't grieve for this Atma. Don't cry for this Atma. It is not required. Tasmad evam viditva enam. Therefore, knowing this Atma of this nature, Bhagavan tells Arjuna, na anushochitum arhasi. You don't have to grieve. You don't have to think that, oh, I will be the cause for killing all these people. They will die. I will die, all my relatives, friends, and everyone will die. Bhagavan says nobody dies. Atma doesn't die. And nobody causes. Atma doesn't cause any action to happen. So don't have this illusion in your head that I will be killing them, all of them, I will be the cause for their death. Such erroneous notions you don't keep in your mind. Drop all your grief and fight this war as your duty. Tasmad evam viditva enam na anushochitum arhasi. So thus Bhagavan so far reveals the supreme nature of the self as eternal, nitya, avikari, aprameya. So many terms Bhagavan has used to reveal that self. Na jayate mriyate va kadachid avinashi achedyo yamadayyo yam, etc. So many different pointers were used to point out this Atma. But as I said, and as Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji has written, the Atma Jnana is not very easy. It is not very easy to comprehend. However much we may listen, it takes lot of effort and lot of preparation to really comprehend what the scriptures are saying. Generally, we hold on to some misconception of our own self. See, we have, at present, we are identified and we express through this gross physical body and a subtle body. Now try to understand this. So we have the gross physical body, which is made up of the 5 great elements. And we have this subtle body, which is making the gross body function. See, this gross physical body is made up of this gross matter. But how does this matter grow? How does this matter move? How does this matter act? Because there is a subtler body which is making it function. See, when I move my hand, the hand is made up of gross physical matter. But what is making it move? The prana shakti which is there, which is making it move. The life force, the life energy which is there is making my hand move. But life energy is there. All the time the hand doesn't move. It moves only when I decide to move. When I decide to move the hand moves. So the decision happens in my buddhi. The thoughts come in my mind. And through the pranas, the hand moves or the body function happens. So, the Sukshma Sharir, which is made up of 19 parts, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Prana, Mana Buddhi, Chitta Hankar, these 19 parts go together to make the subtle body. So we have the gross body, we have the subtle body. Both of them are made up of matter. Gross body is made up of gross matter, subtle body is made up of subtle matter. Causal body is not matter. Causal body is just ignorance of ourself. It is not material. It is just absence of knowledge. So forget about causal body. We have these two bodies, gross and subtle. And Atma expresses through these two bodies. So generally in the world, people have the understanding or misunderstanding that the gross physical body is myself, or those who think deeply and those who are spiritual or religious, they believe that I am the subtle body. In the sense, when I drop this gross body, I continue to exist through my subtle body. So, there are people who believe the gross physical body as the self, and there are those who believe the subtle body as the self. The real self is not known by everyone. So, Bhagwan here in the following verses, taking into account the ignorance of this world, taking into account our false assumption that I am the subtle body or I am the gross body, Bhagwan says, even if you think from that standpoint, Bhagwan says you don't have to grieve. Very interesting. Bhagwan says in the next verse, so just let us assume that Atma is born and Atma dies. He says just assume. For the sake of argument, let us assume that Atma is born and Atma dies. Bhagwan says, even if you assume this way, you should not grieve. He says in the next verse, just an assumption, this is not the real self, but the misunderstanding which people have in the world that Sukshma Sharir is Atma. Bhagwan says, अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि. ए महाबाहो, अथ चेत, अथ च means let us assume, even if somebody thinks in this way, which is not correct, but generally large number of people, because of the ignorance of the self, think in this way. What do they think? That I am born and that I will die. They feel that again and again we take birth, again and again we die. He says, Nityam jatam, athacha enam nityam jatam, nityam va manyase mritam. If you think that you are constantly, means eternally born and eternally dying, because that is what happens to the Sukshma Sharir. Sukshma Sharir keep leaving one gross body and taking up another body. So, it is as though the Sukshma Sharir is born in the gross body and it dies from that gross body. Again it is born in another gross body, it dies from that body. So even if you assume the Atma to be Sukshma Sharir, like Sukshma Sharir, Bhagwan says, if you think that Atma is born constantly and constantly dying, then E Mahabaho, O my dear Arjuna, of mighty arms, powerful, brave Arjuna, even if you think in this way, Tathapi tvam mahabaho na evam shochitum arhasi. Even then you should not grieve. Even if you think that constantly we are born and constantly we die, then you don't have to grieve. Even if you have this type of misunderstanding or this type of philosophy in your head, that we are born again and again and we are dying. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. If this is what you have understood about yourself, if this is what you think you are and others are, then you don't have to grieve even from this standpoint. Why? He says in the next verse, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. Bhagwan says, because this is a constant, eternal phenomena, a law. What is the law? Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. The one who is born, if a person has taken birth, if you are born, then you will certainly die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. One who has taken birth is definitely going to die. Because birth and death goes together. It is one thing only. It's like two sides of the same coin. If you accept one side of the coin, then you have to accept the other side also. If you think you are born, then you will die also. All those who are born, they die. And that is what happens when we express through the Sukshma Sharir. The Sukshma Sharir is born and the Sukshma Sharir dies. Sukshma Sharir dies means it leaves the gross physical body. The Sukshma Sharir never dies. It just passes from one body to another. Just like our mobile, to give that example of the mobile phone, see the mobile, the structure, the gross physical mobile instrument is like the gross physical body. Smart phone means smart body, human body. Not smartphone is like animal body or plant body. So in smartphone you have so many features. You have, you can text, you can see videos, you can call, you can do video call, and you can check your internet and so many things. So it is like a whole computer is there. So that is the outer structure, the instrument. But if you look inside, your personality is there in the form of the chip, the SIM card. The SIM card has got your name, it is in your name. It has got the number. It records all the incoming, outgoing, and all the thing you have consumed. Everything is there in that SIM card. And then there is the battery which is giving life to that mobile. If that battery runs down, the SIM card and the mobile, nothing can function. The battery gives life. The battery is the life energy. The SIM card is the software, like because of which everything, the thinking, the feeling, the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, all this happens because of the SIM card. So the SIM card along with the batteries is like the Sukshma Sharir. The physical instrument is like the Sthula Sharir. And I who am using that phone, I who is the owner of that phone, I who can keep the phone down, pick it up, switch it off, sell it, buy it, throw it, that I is Atma. So Sthula Sharir, Sukshma, but what is Karan Sharir? Karan Sharir is like misunderstanding, like falsely assuming that I am the mobile, that I am the battery, that I am the chip. If suppose somebody asks you what's your name and you start saying your phone number. So that misunderstanding is like Karan Sharir, ignorance of our own self. But Sukshma Sharir is the battery and the SIM card. Sthula Sharir is that equipment, and the Atma is I, the one who is using that, who is functioning through that. So Bhagavan says, so when we get tired of one phone, we just remove the SIM card, and then we put it into another phone. That is like leaving one body and taking birth in another body. So Bhagavan says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. One who is born is definitely going to die, because that is what it is. It goes together. It's like if you throw a stone up, however, up you throw a stone, with your physical energy. It will go very high, it will keep on rising, but at one point it will stop rising and then it will come down. So all that goes up comes down. Similarly, all that is born dies. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. This we understand, we see it, we experience it. Thousands of people, they die. We experience it. We listen, we hear about the death of so many people. But what we should also remember is dhruvam janmam mritasya cha, one who dies is again born. Because the potential is there. The potential is there in the form of our karma, in the form of our vasanas, which will force the person to take birth again. Potential is there in that sukshma sharir. That sukshma sharir creates that force because of which it takes up another physical body and it starts expressing. Just like when we go to sleep, we are in deep sleep state, but still we wake up because that potential is there in our antakarana. We want to experience the waking. We want to experience all our fulfilling, all our desires. So we are forced to wake up. Similarly, a person who dies is forced to be reborn. There is no such thing called rest in peace and all. One keeps on moving. The ultimate rest is only in enlightenment when we gain moksha. As long as we don't gain moksha, there is no peace, there is no waiting, there is no sitting at one place till Kayamat. The jiva keeps on moving. Sharira yatra. It is all his yatra through various bodies. There is no quietude. Sometimes we go to a higher world, sometimes we take up a good body, we get some better gati. Therefore, when a person dies, we pray that may that jiva gain sadgati. Doesn't matter Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, because the rule is same for everyone. Whether you accept or don't accept, whether you believe or don't believe, whether you in your religion it is said or is not said, doesn't matter. This is the universal rule. Everyone has to pass through the same rule. Doesn't matter in which religion, in which country, and which background you are born. This is a universal law. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janmam mritasya cha. One doesn't remain in one place ever, everlasting life. Even if you go to Swarga, it is not lasting. There is no such thing called eternal Swarga or eternal hell. After reaching Swarga also, Kshine punyam martyalokam vishanti. Again we come to martyalok. Even if one goes to hell, one again comes back to this martyalok. We keep on moving. Constant our yatra goes on. Till we gain self-knowledge, we will not remain at one place. We keep moving. So, jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janmam mritasya cha. Therefore, Bhagavan says this is an eternal, universal thing which is happening. Every living being, not only human being, but animal, bird, plant, bacteria, microbes, even virus. The scientists are confused whether to call virus living or non-living. Because it has got just one structure, protein, and then inside there is this RNA. it cannot duplicate itself. It needs the support of other living being to duplicate itself. But I think virus is also living only. There are various varieties of living beings, variety of them. Some live independently, some live with the help of other beings, like parasites. So viruses are also like parasitic. They live on other living beings. But there are so many of them, variety of them. So if one dies, is born again. And sometimes a person dies and immediately is born. There may not be any time gap also. He dies here, he take birth there. Here people are crying because he died. There people are happy because a child is born. So this goes on and on. Bhagavan says, O Arjuna, this is a universal law which will happen whether you cry or don't cry. Therefore, don't cry. Don't grieve. Tasmad apariharyerte. Therefore, for that which is apariharya, means that which is definite, that which is you cannot stop it, which is a natural phenomena. It's like the movement of time. Like the sun rises and sun sets. You can't stop the sun from rising. If it is risen, it will set. If it is set, it will rise again. So tasmat apariharyerte natvam shochitum arhasi. Oh Arjuna, you don't have to grieve for that. Please don't grieve. So here in these two verses, Bhagavan tells Arjuna, and through Arjuna he tells all of us, he says those who believe Atma to be Sukshma Sharir, means Jivatma. Jivatma means Atma identified with Sukshma Sharir. Those who believe that I am a Sukshma Sharir, for such people, Bhagavan says in these two verses that even you should not grieve. Because if somebody dies, he is born again. If he is born again, he will die. It is a natural phenomena. You don't have to cry over it. Now, Bhagavan in the next verse, he talks to those people who believe Atma to be this physical body only. They don't believe in life after death. They don't believe that there is something which remains alive even when the body drops off. They believe that we are just our physical body and life is just an expression of this physical body. The physical body, which is made up of matter, which is made up of all these chemicals, which is made up of RNA, DNA and all. Therefore they get confused with the definition of life. Therefore scientists are confused whether to call virus living or non-living. It's just a chemical, but it is not just inert chemical. It seems to have intelligence in it. It moves from one body to another. So they have confusion. So, if a person believes that we are just a physical body and the life is just an expression in this physical body, and once this physical body gets disintegrated, we will not be born again. There is no such thing called life after death. There is nobody remains. Body alone, when it gets perished, it is not. Just like we have let us say we have a doll. We play with that doll. Then that doll gets destroyed. We are playing and suddenly it falls into fire and gets burnt. So when I had that doll, I had given it nice name also, and I used to play with that doll, and I was so happy, and I used to feed the doll with my imaginary food and all. And constantly the doll was there with me. But then there was accident, the doll fell into fire and got burnt. So, will that same doll take another birth? No, because that doll, along with its personality, along with everything, is burnt and gone forever. You can have a similar doll, similar looking, you can give same name, but it is not that the same doll is born again, because it is matter, and we had given a personality to that matter. That personality is not born. When that matter gets disintegrated, the personality also gets disintegrated. That's what many people think. The materialist, those who believe only in matter, they think in this way. So Bhagwan accepts their thinking. He says that even if you think in this way, that we are born in this body, and when we die, nothing is left. Zero. So we have come from zero and we go back to zero. A personality which is born in this body is lost forever. That personality was not there before, it is now, and it will be lost forever. If that is what your belief is, Bhagavan says, even if you believe in this way, thoroughly materialistic vision if you have, even then you should not grieve. He says in the next verse, Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Bhagavan says, if a person thinks that he is just a physical body in which he is expressing his life as an intelligent being, but all this is possible as long as the body is there. Once the body gets disintegrated, that whole personality gets dissolved. Nothing remains. So Bhagavan says that before the person was born, you believe that he was unmanifest. That person was never there in this world. In whatever form he was not there. And he is there alive for some time, and then once he dies, he will again go into unmanifest, never will be there in future. Avyakta adini bhutani. If you say all these beings were avyakta in the beginning, means they were not there, they were unmanifest, they were never there in any form. And vyakta madhyani, and they are vyakta, they are manifest in between. When we interact with them, when we talk to them, when we consider them as our relative and friend and son and daughter and husband, wife and all. But once they die, avyakta nidhananyeva, they will again become avyakta. They will just be a memory in people who are alive. But as far as they are concerned, they are not there. Kuch nahi hai. If you believe in this way, which is not true, which is not proper, but Bhagavan here is telling that, oh Arjuna, even those who have this erroneous beliefs, such people also should not grieve. Because tatra ka paridevana, why are you grieving? That fellow was unmanifest before, in between he became manifest, then again he is unmanifest. Most of the time, that fellow is not there. Only for a short time he seems to be present. So what is there to grieve? This is also a natural phenomena according to you. So there is no need to grieve even if you are thoroughly materialistic. Bhagavan says first you stop grieving. Then I will tell you. He has already revealed the supreme nature of the self. Bhagavan says, now you stop grieving, then you will understand what I am telling. See, when a person is overpowered by grief, overpowered by emotion, that person is not available for thinking, that person is not available for listening also. When you are crying, weeping, sad, at that time if I try to teach you calculus, algebra, thermodynamics, what you call that, nuclear physics, you will not be available for that. You might take a danda and beat me up for bringing up these topics. You will tell me that please leave me alone, I just want to sit and weep. I want to just sit and cry, full of tears. That fellow is not available for anything, because when we are overpowered by emotions, our intellect cannot function. See, we have this Antakaran Chatushtaya. They can, the fourfold inner equipment, only one equipment can function at a particular time. If the mind is functioning, the buddhi will not function. Buddhi is functioning, the mind will not function. Therefore, you stop weeping first. Whatever be your philosophy, chup karo, rona band karo. Then we will talk. When a person start thinking, when a person start inquiring, suddenly his emotion disappear. See, in Ramayana there is a very beautiful incident. When Hanumanji goes to Lanka, he goes to that Ashok Vatika and he sees Sita ji. Hanumanji has taken a small form, he hides in the tree behind the leaves and he looks at Sita ji, and Sita ji was extremely sad, full of grief. She had lost all hope. She thought that nobody will be able to come and save me. And this Ravan, this Durachari is creating so much of trouble for me. It's best for me to die. So she was grieving and she wanted to just die. She requested that Trijata also that please give me fire so that I can build a fire and just die. But Trijata said, no, there is no fire here, and she left her alone. But Sita ji was very, very unhappy. So Hanumanji was wondering that if I go in front of her, talk to her, she will not believe me. She is so overwhelmed by emotion that her buddhi is not functioning. The buddhi will function only if it starts inquiring, if it starts if it has got jidnyasa in it. If it has got this inquiry comes, then buddhi will open up. So Hanumanji starts singing Bhagwan's glory remaining hidden there. And then Sita ji start wondering, Arey, kaun hai? Who is singing Bhagwan's glory? So that her buddhi opened up little bit. Then he threw the ring of Bhagwan in her hand. So she looked at that mudrika, Prabhu mudrika, Rama Nama Ankita mudrika. She looked in her hand, shining, and she was wondering कि कहाँ से आ गई है, कौन है, from where it has come, who is this person who was singing Ram Chandraji's glory. And that inquiry, when it started, her buddhi started functioning, her mind, that emotion just disappeared. Then Hanumanji came in front of her and told her the whole story. Similarly here, Bhagwan had revealed the nature of that self to Arjuna, but Arjuna was grieving. He was overpowered by that grief कि ये सब लोग मर जाएंगे. Bhagwan says Atma is Nitya, Bhishma Pitamaha मर जाएंगे, Dronacharya will die. Bhagwan says Atma is eternal, it never dies, nobody can kill it. Again Arjuna is thinking of all these people dying. So therefore Bhagwan is telling him that even from the Sukshma Sharir standpoint, you don't have to grieve, because one who dies is born again, and one who is born, he dies. And even if you think like a gross physical body which is born and then it is gone, that personality is never born again, even then you don't have to grieve. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. For this natural phenomena, why you have to grieve? So Bhagwan wants Arjuna to stop grieving so that he can listen to him and understand the real nature of the self. because that self is very subtle and very mysterious. And Bhagavan says, Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidena, one who looks at it with great wonder and understands it as a great wonder. So more about this we will see in our class tomorrow. So stay home, stay safe, stay happy and peaceful, healthy, and we will meet again tomorrow. And when you are at home, whenever you get time, you think about whatever you have heard in the class. And as you are listening, you take down notes also and have Bhagavad Gita book in your hand while you are listening. So that you know which shloka and what we are studying. Contemplate on it. And if you have any questions, you can just write it in the comment, and I will try to reply those. I will reply to those questions. There are people who watch these videos later on also, so you can also, if you have any questions, you can write it down. If not, you can even say just Hari Om to me that you have heard this, so that will also be fine. And in this way we will study this. This is very fascinating. Bhagavad Gita is so fascinating and so beneficial also, that every time we think and every time we contemplate upon it, a fresh and wonderful understanding happens. Deeper understanding takes place because it is alive. Bhagwan himself is there in the form of Bhagavad Gita in front of us. He is entering our system when we listen to Bhagavad Gita. He enters our whole Sthula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, and makes us happy, peaceful, healthy. So even to regain health, we should listen to Bhagavad Gita. It will drive away all the viruses and all those unhealthy creatures from your system and make you healthy again. So we will meet again tomorrow, same time, same place. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, 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 Jaya Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय. ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरिः ओम. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम.